Got to start in the NBA. Mad Dog, Stephen A., they're in New Orleans having a good time. But Wendy's here, so the association is where we begin. I am Shea Cornett. Luka Doncic was introduced as a Laker yesterday alongside Rob Pelinka and JJ Redick. A lot of takeaways, but Luka, AD, LeBron all continue to say the trade was just as shocking to them as it was to the rest of the world late Saturday night. Luka said he had a tough time dealing with the reality of leaving the team that drafted him almost 7 years ago, but he's excited for this next chapter.
I mean, everybody was surprised, so you can imagine how surprised I was. I was almost asleep, so when I got a call, I had to check it was April 1st. I didn't really believe it at first, and it was a bit shock. It was hard moments for me. It was home, so it was really hard moments for me, especially the first day. But as I said, I get to play in the greatest club in the world, and I'm excited for this new journey.
How do you address the criticism that's followed you on your way out about concerns about conditioning and durability?
It's a motive. I know it's not true. I know, but it's a motive. Like I say, I came here, one of the biggest clubs in history of sports, so it's a big motive for a long run here.
Okay, so Luka's saying conditioning, not really an issue, not true, but he'll use it as motivation. Stephen A., your biggest takeaway from Luka's press conference and what you just heard there?
Things are going to get very, very exciting. We need to pay attention to Luka Doncic. He's going to have a huge chip on his shoulder. And this is a guy that's 25 years of age, a career 28-point-per-game scorer, is the reigning scoring champion in the NBA, who was unceremoniously booted out of a franchise that drafted him instead of Trae Young, essentially. They could have had Trae Young. They wanted him. They traded up to get him. He thought he was going to be there. He thought he was going to finish his career there. That did not happen. You heard rumors that when he heard the news, he broke down and he cried because he was so devastated by being booted out of town by the Dallas Mavericks. And make no mistake, that's how he's taking it. That's how his dad, Sasa Doncic, is taking it. And as a result, when he said motive, he really meant motivation, obviously. He is highly motivated because he recognizes the question marks that have been thrown out there, and he considers, and his dad considers, his name being sullied. You could see it, you could hear it, and when you consider the talent that he's bringing to the table as a 25-year-old, he's quietly saying, hey, beware, here I come. There is truth to the fact that he has come out of shape. There is truth that he wasn't in peak condition on several occasions. There is truth that when he was supposed to be at about 230, he was about 260. All of those things are true, but in the end, he played games. He didn't miss too many games, and he's looking at the fact that he took this team to 2 Western Conference Finals, an NBA Finals appearance as well. He's recognized as one of the great players in the game today, and he was unceremoniously dismissed. And his mentality appears to be somebody's going to pay for that, and that makes this for a very interesting second half of the NBA season.
100%, Steve. Most of the great players in the league, when they get traded, wanted to be traded. Kareem went to the GM, Wayne Embry, in the early 70s and said, could you get me out of Milwaukee in preseason? GM said, Kareem, do yourself a favor. Embry told me this. Do yourself a favor, say nothing for the course of the year, and I promise you I'll trade you at the end of the season. Kareem said nothing, won an MVP, and then he traded him to the Lakers. Durant wanted out. Harden wanted out. Butler wants out. Most of the great players, Anthony Davis wanted out. Chris Paul wanted out. He didn't want out necessarily. And I think you hit it right on the head. I think Doncic is going to be completely motivated. Nobody's going to care about the weight when he's scoring 35 points a game. LeBron will keep him in check if there's an issue as far as maybe battling with the officials, which he does way too much. I think LeBron, who's one of the great specimens in the history of professional sports with his athletic prowess and his conditioning, I think that will rub off on him very well. And I think that he will be, as you said, motivated, huge boulder on his shoulders. They will be dangerous as heck. Now, I don't know if they're going to win an NBA championship, but they will be very dangerous. This is going to be a scary last 30 games for teams in the Western Conference. Whether he knew he was going to get traded, whether he had rubbed the franchise the wrong way, who knows? Bottom line, LeBron is, I take him for his word. He probably was shocked. They threw him out the door. This is a one-sided trade. He's got something to prove. That's dangerous. Good for the Lakers.
So we've heard now from everybody, guys. We've heard from LeBron. We've heard from Luka. We've heard from Kyrie. We've heard from Anthony Davis. We've heard from Rob Pelinka. We've heard from Nico Harrison on the record, on camera. This is a rare moment where I actually believe that everybody is telling the exact truth. I know that there is QAnon, Illuminati, 4D chess theories. I reject all of them. I think everything is exactly as it is on face value. The Mavericks didn't believe that Luka Doncic would do what it was needed to do to be able to stay in condition and be able to be focused and have the correct temperament. I don't need sources. It's right here. They said it, and then they asked Luka, and Luka says, I don't think it's a problem. I'm not in shape. There it is right there. What do you need the 4D chess? Very clearly, he doesn't believe what they believe, okay? And it doesn't mean it wasn't a catastrophic mistake, okay? Kyrie Irving, you know what he said? He said, I'm grieving. I think the whole Mavericks fan base can appreciate that. They're grieving, okay? They ask LeBron. LeBron says, never in my career has this ever happened before. Or there's a trade where I am completely in the dark about. People thought LeBron had some issue with AD or whatever. No, they just didn't go to him. People said to LeBron last night, don't you think this is a move for the future and not necessarily for now? Do you have a problem with that? He goes, it should be. Why wouldn't they do for the future? Why would they not invest in a 25-year-old and not a 40-year-old? I mean, I can keep going here. He said, absolutely not. And of course, who would turn down $350 million? Of course he wouldn't turn that down. All of this is straight on the up and up, guys. And I know that it's hard to compute because it's so shocking, but it is on its face value. Last night during the game, LeBron does a give-and-go play. Beautiful play. He played a great game last night against the Clippers. LeBron was awesome in that game. If you watch that game last night and you think LeBron's like on his last legs, watch his play. He gives and goes. You know what he does here? He looks over at Luka and says, that's what we're going to do. There's no nefarious behind-the-scenes secret meetings. They haven't had a practice together. This is LeBron communicating in real time with his new teammate that he hasn't had this discussion with. This is all wholesome content. It's all right out there for everybody to see. And that's what I think the takeaway should be. I have no idea what's going to go forward. I know there's issues with Luka. I know he and LeBron are going to have issues. I know that the Mavericks are under a lot of stress. I can't predict the future. But what we're seeing right now in front of us is all in front of us. Let's keep an eye on that.
Well, I would tell you this, Wendy. I get where you're coming from, but I think that if you're pointing to what people are thinking in terms of some conspiracy theory as opposed to who know what, I think you're missing it. I don't think that's what people are concerned about. I think that they may have mentioned it. You have people speculating that LeBron may have known or whatever. No. Okay, you take him at his word. He didn't know. You take Pelinka at his word. You take Nico Harrison and Jason Kidd at their word. That's fine. But there has to be – I can understand people thinking it has to be more from the Luka side of things. There has to be something catastrophically wrong to let go of a 25-year-old who's a generational talent, who's an international iconic figure. Make no mistake about it. And then for him to be gone is bad enough. But for him to end up being a Los Angeles Laker, how is it that this particular franchise keeps getting these huge, huge names to come to their franchise? It's Wilt Chamberlain. It's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It's Kobe Bryant. It's Shaq, even though that was free agency. It's all of these huge names that have come that have been someplace else, and somehow, some way, when everybody and their grandmama wants them on their squad, the franchise that ends up getting them is the Los Angeles Lakers. A matter of fact, when Chris Paul was supposed to be a Los Angeles Laker, if it wasn't for the former Commissioner David Stern, God rest his soul, he would have been a Los Angeles Laker. People was like, this is just utterly ridiculous. How does this keep on happening? That's why Dan Gilbert and all of them were going crazy as owners complaining about how the rich just get richer, et cetera, et cetera. In this particular instance, that's not the story. The story is Luka Doncic and why the hell would the Dallas Mavericks let him go. That's what people are going to have their ears perked up about. I don't think it'll ever end. Maybe it'll be a 30 for 30
right
docu-series or whatever. Somebody's going to.
It was right there
but it wasn't in a lot of people's eyes.
Luka,
but I know you're saying that.
You can't talk to Luka. Luka doesn't. He doesn't acknowledge that there's a problem with his game, and that's it. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's it.
But I understand that. But that's to you. That's to you. You know, covering the league, that there are an abundance of executives, despite the troubles, who would have never moved them. That's the point, Wendy. I'm not saying you're wrong about what you're saying. I'm saying an abundance of executives would have said that's not enough to move a generational talent like that.
That's true.
Who's 6 years younger than the guy you changed him for. That's where I'm going with that. I'm not questioning it. I'm simply saying there's a whole bunch of people taking that truth, that factual information into consideration, and still would not have moved him. Now we look at the Los Angeles Lakers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a scrub team. Do you see the job that J.J. Redick is doing? Do you see the fact that the Lakers are 10 games over 500 for the first time this season? That they're 5-1 on their Grammy road trip? That they're playing small ball. I had Juan Dixon. Remember Juan Dixon? They won a national championship at Maryland, at the University of Maryland, doggy, Wendy, years ago. He texts me all the time. Brother knows his basketball. He's like, look at these cats play small ball. Look at how they're playing defensively. Small ball defense. Guess what? You might need a center. It will definitely help. But look at what they're doing without it. And then you imagine the potency offensively from a LeBron with the Luka. And you can literally you can use your imagination, because the Los Angeles Lakers are not losing basketball games. They're 10 games over 500 and battling with the Denver Nuggets for a spot to secure home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs as one of the top 4 seeds in the Western Conference as we speak. And then they lose, the Dallas Mavericks lose Luka, and they go and get blitzed by Cleveland by damn near 50. But meanwhile, the Lakers don't have Luka on the court yet, lost Anthony Davis, and they go out there and destroy the Los Angeles Clippers. It's getting interesting. That's all I'm saying. It's getting very interesting.
I would not make, before Steve puts the Lakers with the 71-72 version and 139 in a row, they're dangerous. I mean, take it easy. They're dangerous. I don't know if they're, I mean, you're going to basically say they're championship worthy. I got to see that. They're dangerous, and I think they're better. I totally agree. They got the 2 best players maybe in the sport. Well, can't put LeBron on that level at the moment, but Doncic I could. They got 2 of the top 5-6 players in the sport now on their same team, and you couldn't say that with Davis, who both can handle the ball. So they're dangerous. I would not necessarily make them the favorite to come out of the Western Conference. And I might be dead wrong, and Wendy knows a lot more about this than I ever do. I think this comes down on one thing. There's no way Harrison makes this trade just because he thinks Anthony Davis is better than Luka and he can fit with the team better and giving up 6 years. I think, this is me being a sports fan from afar, I think that ownership said, hold on now. We're going to pay this guy $350 million in September, and if he doesn't accept it, we're going to have a Jimmy Butler on our hands, and we think he's out of shape and he weighs 260 pounds. We're not doing that. And I think the message got to Harrison, you got to trade him. Do the best you can. You got to trade him. That's what I think, because there's no way
no one's denying that, dog.
General manager
That's exactly
in the NBA
what they're saying.
Can sit there and make a case that this trade is a good basketball trade for your franchise, especially when you're giving up 6 years. So there must be something else involved, and I don't think that owner, the new ownership, wanted to pay him $350 million.
That is what it is.
From afar, Wendy, you know a lot more about this than I do.
That is it. Well,
but that's a sports fan's logic there, thinking about why Dallas made this move.
But that's not conspiracy. They did not want to give him the $350 million. There's no conspiracy. That's just the fact. They could be dead wrong. They could be going into infamy. That's what they believed. That's all.
Well, what it made is the Lakers team better. And last night, without Luka on the court, as Stephen A. mentioned, they looked completely rejuvenated, which is wild after a blockbuster trade over the weekend. So much discussion of how this is going to impact LA going forward. The Lakers didn't just beat the Clippers yesterday, they blew them out, scoring 45 points in the first quarter alone. They also looked better defensively. Stephen A. also pointed that out. And this was all, as we said, without Anthony Davis, who's now a Maverick, and Luka is yet to play, of course. And so let's hear from the King on this whole situation. Here's LeBron.
At the end of the day, I understand the business of basketball, but I didn't make the decision. So, but it was just shocking in the sense of who was involved. Obviously, Luka's been my favorite player in the NBA for a while now. I think you guys know that, and I've always just tried to play the game the right way and inspire, the next generation. Luka happens to be one of them, and now we're teammates, so it'll be a very seamless transition.
Any concerns that because you brought in a young star that some of these priorities kind of might shift more towards the future rather than the present.
What's wrong with that? If I had concerns, I would have waived my no trade clause and got up out of here.
All right, very matter of fact. Wendy, as you said earlier, what do you take of LeBron's thoughts? Doggy, I'll start with you.
Well, again, it's hard to believe, to me, again, I'm a cynic, that, and Anthony Davis is his friend, that they didn't give LeBron a little heads up. I'm not saying 3 weeks, but they didn't give LeBron a little heads up, and he found out at dinner at 1 o'clock in the morning in New York City after they beat the Knicks on Saturday night.
No conspiracy.
That's a little rough. That's a little rough. I mean, I have the feeling he's got a little heads up on this, and I think LeBron and Dunk, I think it'll be a great combination. I'll tell you this, I think LeBron now is going to play a little longer than I thought. I definitely thought he'd retire after next year. Now I got a funny feeling he's going to like this so much, he'll play a little longer. So this, from a standpoint of LeBron, I think he knew about this for a little while, and I think he'd be so motivated, he'll play more. That would be my take on LeBron.
See, I know, Stephen A. I understand your point, Stephen A., that you don't think that people are focused on conspiracy, but I'm telling you they are. I got Dog here. He's not listening. Nobody knew about this. I know that's hard to believe, but that's why it's a unique situation. They did not know. I'm telling you, they didn't know. And here's something else as we look going forward. The Lakers didn't have an 18-month-long plan here to land Luka Doncic. They had an 18-minute plan. So they now have to refit everything. Stephen A. is right. They're playing great. They've won 9 out of 11 games. They are tied in the loss column with Denver for the 4th seed. This team could get a home court first round, which I did not think was possible as recently as a month ago. They are playing great, but they are also now out of sync. They don't have a backline defense. This team is not good enough defensively. Playing small can get you by in individual stretches. They will get work trying to play small against a team like Oklahoma City or something like that. They're going to need a big man. They're going to need to make several moves between now and next season. I'm giving the Lakers, as far as I'm concerned, this rest of this Lakers season is a free roll. If they can get to the second round of the playoffs, amazing. If they end up falling into the play-in because there's issues with the way their team is aligned, I'm not even that worried about it. I'm looking at next season. Let's see what they can do by Thursday. Let's see what they can do before August 2nd. August 2nd is an important day. Why is August 2nd an important day? Because that is when Luka Doncic is eligible to sign a contract extension. The Lakers have between now and August 2nd to get Luka Doncic on board to want to be here long-term in L.A. I think they can. I think it's going to work. I believe in LeBron. I've watched LeBron win with all kinds of different players. I hear what Charles Barkley said. I hear what other people say. I know it's not an ideal fit. I've watched LeBron do it. I've watched LeBron have his team turned over at the middle of the season and still get to the finals. I've watched that several times. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm going to vote by believing in these guys, but they definitely have to do some work. It's not going to be perfect, but you have to this whole thing has to be understood that this happened to the Lakers. The Lakers didn't make this happen. This fell into their lap. So keep that on your mind as we watch these next couple of months play out.
Brian Windhorst, I need you to relax. Now, you know that's bad coming from me to you, Wendy, but I need you to relax. There are guys like Mad Dog Russo and others who believe LeBron must have known something. It's hard to believe that he didn't. Fair enough. Here's the real point. I don't give a damn what he knew. I don't give a damn when he knew it, because that ain't the story. That's a cliff note. The real story is that the Dallas Mavericks took a 25-year-old who's the reigning scoring champion and a career 28-point-per-game scorer who's been in the league for 7 years, has been All-NBA first team 5 times, and they said, get the hell out of town. We believe that getting a guy 6 years older would give us a better chance at a championship this year and in the immediate future, with Oklahoma City there, with Houston on the come up, with Memphis not being able to be ignored, with Jokic still around. That's point number one. Point number two, not only do we think that we have a better chance of winning, we don't care about you anymore. Why do we say that? Because you were due for a $345 million max. And now the most you could sign for is $229. You cost this man about $100 million. You cost this man about $115 to $125 million. Now, I understand that he's a global, international, iconic basketball figure. And I understand that he's representing the Los Angeles Lakers. And I understand that he's got a boatload of money coming to him, and he's going to have gobs and gobs of money on the international market. Being a member of the Lakers, he's going to get advertising and sponsorship dollars coming his way in droves. But damn it, it's still $115, $125 million that he could have had, and it's gone. Now, I don't know about y'all, but if somebody, I don't give a damn who it is, I don't give a damn how much money I got, if somebody costs me $115 to $125 million, it's going to be a problem. And Luka Doncic is in a position to step on a basketball court and make people pay. I'm out of condition. Let me get myself in better condition. You might see Luka rolling around with a six-pack in a few months, okay? He gonna run up and, listen, you gonna see this brother on the basketball court doing what he does offensively. God help you if he gets in the kind of shape that people wish he got into. God help you if the chemistry and the cohesiveness that we imagine. Great players, Doggy, you'll notice, you'll appreciate this. The great Larry Brown texted me yesterday. He said, great players find a way to play together. Stephen A., don't worry about it, because LeBron is great and Luka is great, and they'll figure it out. If they figure it out and that brother's in shape, you combine all of his skill sets with him being in shape, with him having a chip on his shoulder because he was unceremoniously cast out of Big D. Could you imagine what the hell we might see? That's the story. I don't give a damn when LeBron James found out that the trade is coming down because Nico called Rob and they went out to dinner in Dallas and ultimately got Genie and Dallas ownership involved. I don't care about all of that. What I care about is that this brother Luka Doncic got an attitude because he believes he has been smeared. His daddy is on the record saying, my son is being smeared. I'm paraphrasing. That wasn't an exact quote. But that's what he said. And you got that going on. You got that coming down the pike. Lord have mercy. Look out. Luka Doncic is coming. And in this case, his sidekick is LeBron James. Lord, get ready, y'all. NBA season second
Stephen A.,
half
relax.
is about to be special. I'm loving it. Loving it.
I was on air with Wendy and Stephen A. when this broke on SportsCenter, and at that time, I felt like the collective comment was, the Lakers are going to need to wait a year. They'll have to figure it out. And now, after one game and a Luka press conference, we've all changed our tune. How quickly the tide has turned.